Then I show you how I do a more formal portrait. I use this sometimes for my headshot setup that works with someone maybe with no hair and really eradicates those hot spots that you might get in the studio. Again, this is a simple lighting setup that builds on what we're teaching here, and another way of getting formal portraits. I use this for my Explorers Club series, and I use this a lot when I'm photographing in the studio. We're building our library of lighting setups here and going through with this beautiful 2-light setup. I'm going to show you now how I shoot my headshots, my corporate headshots. Now, this setup I'm doing on a man. I'm going to show you guys the modifications I use for women as well. What I aim for in doing headshots is a couple of things. I want my setup to be portable, so I can replicate it in a corporate office. I want the headshot to look painterly and have that Felix quality of light in it still, without going so flat and boring like I've seen in so many headshots. My mission has been to change the way that headshots look, and I'm going to show you guys how I do that. All right, so the first thing you do is you find the biggest light source that you have, and with that I'm going to make a base layer. This is great to kind of fill in the light for any type of situation. So I do that, I put the light above. So right now I've got my large Photech. This is what I have traveling with me. It folds up small, and I'm going to put it above and probably kind of horizontal like that, and bring it up, and we're going to start standing. So Anton, please stand. Perfect. And I'll bring this forward a little bit. Now I'm going to position this so the light's hitting just in front of the subject, and it's going to hit every part of the suit. So what you don't want in a corporate headshot, if they're wearing a dark suit, you don't want any of those areas to go to complete black. It just looks terrible. So I want to create a base layer of beautiful soft light. I'm going to see how that is. I've just turned on the pack. I'm shooting on my 50mm. My aperture is at 5.6. My ISO is at 200. And I'm at 180th of a second on my shutter speed. So that's actually going to be a little bit too bright. We've got a lot of light coming directly from the top. Anton has no hair, and I chose that specifically because a lot of your headshot clients will have the same problem. And I'm going to turn this light down because I want the base layer here to be just that. I want it to be very soft, low light. Perfect. And Anton, would you just move that Apple box offset for me? Perfect. And I want this to be a little bit softer, so I'm going to achieve that by raising the light up. There we go. Remember, when you take the light away from the subject, you're going to have less stronger light. All right. Good. Just give me a cross-armed look there, Anton. Perfect. There we go. That's our basic base layer. For men, this works really well, particularly if they're a little bit younger or you have girls. This is going to be a nice base layer, and I'm going to show you guys the modification for when you're an older person or someone with more structured face. Then I'm going to bring in my second light. So my first light is a very underexposed base layer. And G, if you could walk in I've got the small deep dish Rotolux. So that's my second light. And again, with this, just look for an exposure kind of where we are now. A little bit underexposed. Perfect. And then just come in, I'll position you, and we'll turn that on. And I'm not checking with a light meter, I'm not checking the power of the pack. I'm just going to take a picture and see how that goes. So what I want you to do is bring the bottom in at eye height, and then we're going to just adjust this like that. And hold it up, right? Yeah, perfect. And bring the bottom of this in at eye height. For someone with a deeper eye cave, if they have deeper eye caves, you can come a little bit lower to fill in. Now, I'm going to have Justin point this light, walk it a little bit towards him. Perfect. And it's not pointing at the subject, it's pointing in front of him. Then I'm going to add in the V-flats. Now, if you don't have V-flats and you go to an office, I always check, are there white walls? And if they're not, I find a solution. If you need to bring a bed sheet and you tape it up to the wall, if they have green walls, tape up a bed sheet so you have a white bounce on the other side. Anything can do. I have V-flats because I like to bring people to my studio, or I shoot in New York and V-flats actually fit in a Cadillac Escalade, and so I make sure I hire that if I get a cab. All right, I'll bring in the V-flats on this side. put one up here. And the other one. So this is going to be, I'm going to make this like a wall. And this is going to be reflecting back mostly the light from the Rotolux that Jersten's holding. And you can also put that on a stand. But I want to show you guys some adjustments you can do. So I've got my wall of V-flats. That's going to mean the light that comes from here, which is not pointing at Anton, is coming across, hitting the V-flats, and then filling in the side on Anton. Very simple. See how that looks? I'm just going to... That's already very nice. And I think this light is a little bit too bright, so I'm just going to turn it down half a stop. Perfect. That looks great. And so what I'm looking for here and what we're getting is I have shape in his face. So we have that light coming across that gives him shape. For anyone that has double chins, Jersten, raise that up and angle it down a little bit. Good. You're going to, then no light is hitting the chins. And if you have someone with deeper eye caves or wrinkles, we're going to wrap that light in. So just a little bit, so the feathering is not quite as much, and you're getting more of a fill. And then walk it in towards me as well. Perfect. And then the closer you get that to the subject this way, the more you're filling in those shadows on the other side. I'll show you guys how that looks. Lovely. And that's a little bit too bright, so I'm going to turn it down. Let's go down and stop. Because we've moved the light closer to the subject, we need to turn it down. Wonderful. That actually looks really good. So Anton, if you cheat your face towards the light, perfect. Good. And just give me kind of like the jazz singer, cool dude pose. Some CEOs, especially now with modern companies, perfect. That's great. That's really, really nice. So what we've done is we've created a simple base layer on top that covers everything, and then we've added that directional light with the Rotolux. I'm going to show you each light by itself so you can see how that makes a difference. So we've seen what just the top layer looks like at the beginning. I'm going to turn off the top layer and just use this light, and you'll see the difference that the top layer makes. So now it's just the light that Jersten's holding. Perfect. And if you look, I'll shoot a same pose with the other light on as well. And you see, you just get that little bit of fill. It makes a much cleaner image. And that's really what corporate headshot clients look for. And it makes anyone that's a little bit older and maybe a little more scraggly, more experienced, as they call it, it's going to make them look, it's the most flattering light for them. So there's a couple of modifications I want to show you. The first one is, people are going to ask, what about if your subject has glasses? The reason I came up with this setup is, if you notice, Jersten, put your light back where we were. If Anton is looking at me, the problem usually is that lights end up, if you put lights behind you as a photographer, you're going to get those reflections in your glasses. So if Anton's looking right at me, there's no lights reflecting off his glasses because there's no lights right here. Sometimes this can creep into the shot, and the easiest way to do that is, Anton, just bring your chin this way. Good. And then look at me, and those glasses are not going to catch the reflections. And you can see the reflection while you're shooting, so just make sure of that. But this, because we're not lighting flat, we're using the V-flats on this side to bounce light back and create a clean image that way, we're not going to have that problem with the glasses. The other thing, we can make this shot still beautifully lit like this and add a little bit of drama and interest for men. I'm going to show you how I do that. Going to just take a piece of black card and clamp it at about the middle of his eye height, up here. And I can literally define the side of this face this way. So let's see how that looks. Justin, come in a little closer. We were closer earlier. Perfect. So if you look at the picture on his cheek on this side, you just get that little hint of a black outline, which defines the face a little bit more. The closer we come in with this, I'm going to show you. Bring this in a little closer. The more defined that negative fill is going to be. Perfect. And you can see this would also work in a small space. That's lovely. And we get that beautiful kind of definition on the side of his face. Works really nicely. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to have you bring your chin this way a little bit and just give me that jazz singer pose. I don't have a better name for it. That's great. Yeah, good. And then just adjust your tie there for me, Anton. That's great. Yeah, good. All right, perfect. So the other thing, people with no hair, the easiest modification I've come up with, super simple, you can do this anywhere, is take a piece of black fabric, anything, and you're going to have someone hold it above here. That's going to minimize your reflection at the top. That is the easiest way to solve bald head. If you go to where your subject is standing and just have a look, and you'll see, okay, I'm just going to take that top light and cut it off with a flag. It's still going to light up the suit or the outfit, whatever they have on, and it's going to look just fine. So let's transition to a seated pose. Anton, go ahead and have a seat on one of those. Yeah. Perfect. And I'm going to take this black down because I think it looked really good. We just had a beautiful broad white bounce. And I've made this quite a large wall. That's because some of this light is hitting this area too, and that light is hitting this area too. The bigger your area of bounce is, the softer the light's going to be. The other thing that I do sometimes is, as you've seen the black that I had up, if you put a whole black here, you're just going to get that harder outline. It's only for some headshot clients because it looks very contrasty. I know that they really like the clean, soft light look, and you can do that by doing this. Now, as he's seated, I'm going to bring the top light down, and I'm going to go ahead and make this a little more fashiony, a little more men's pose. So, Anton, turn your legs this way. Great. And put a foot up on here. Good. Bring your this part of your arm to about there. Perfect. And then, yeah, that's great. I'm going to clip his suit so that it fits really nicely. Da-da-da. And these clips, I'll try to hide them from the camera. There we go. I'm going to bring this top light down this way. I'm going to make it kind of vertical and lower it. Again, at eye height, maybe come in a little bit like this. Good. And Justin, would you just turn your light off for a second? I just want to show what I'm doing with this. So I've got this vertical. Now that means when this light hits him, we're going to have shadow on this side. That's going to give him a lot of kind of hard definition. Now, this light is still hitting the V-flats, so we're still getting that bounce back, but you'll see it has a really nice kind of fashiony feel. Good, and you know what we'll do, Anton, is if you lean back, yeah, perfect. And then just use your abs to do a little crunch. Yeah, and bring this shoulder back. Yeah, and just put that hand in your pocket. Yeah, that's great. And I'll unclip your shirt because we can see that we tightened it back there. There we go. And little tip for dealing with corporate clients, they're not artists, they're not performers. I tend to invade their private space a lot. The lint roller is your best friend here. Get the lint roller. If they're uptight, roll them to hell. You know? Yeah. This is a great way of invading their space and loosening them up, because if you have to shoot a lot of people, you have to get good at this. So I'll be like, oh, we're just going to get this, and you know, the CEO will stand there and go, when are we going to take the picture already? And you just say, well, I want to get it right. Let's get it right. And all the little things like this shows them that you care, and they also get used to their space being invaded. So that's these kind of little things that I do to make them feel a little bit more relaxed. Perfect. So that's just the one light now. Very, very, oh, that's very fashiony, moody, nice. Okay, lean back a little bit, use your abs. Do you need some, bring that arm further forward. Yeah, perfect. Gives it a little bit of space here. Lovely. That actually looks very nice. I would use that. So to make it a headshot where they would use it, let's bring this other light back in. And I'm going to layer these two on top of each other. Now, this light, the big light, is bouncing off here and it's filling in the shadows in his eyes. If you didn't have the bounce, it would look quite garish, I would think. So bring this light in and have it right in front of here. Good. And I'm going to just have you angle it almost pointing at Anton. Now, it's actually pointing about here. Perfect. And then bouncing back at him. He's catching some of that soft light that's coming off the edge of this modifier, and he's getting a lot of the light is hitting the V flat here and bouncing back at him. So let's see again. I just did the one shot with the one big light, and I saw how that looks. Then I'm going to add in my second light again. I'm going to see how that looks. If it's too bright, I'm going to turn it down. If it's too dark, I'm going to turn it up. I don't need to use a meter. I don't need to worry about ratios here. Perfect. Yeah, Anton, and just bring a thumb out of the pocket. So, yeah, perfect. That's great. And that looks fantastic. Wow, that's great. Okay, and then bring your this shoulder forward. Yeah, not as much. Split the difference there. Good. And get in that crunch. Yeah, perfect. Lean forward a little bit. And just push that apple box a bit further away from you. Yeah. And then kind of turn it into me a little bit. Yeah, perfect. That's great. Very handsome. And obviously, let's do a... that's really nice. That looks kind of painterly, soft, clean, wonderful. Let's do some traditional poses. So bring your body towards me. Yeah. And if you're in a smaller studio, you can use the seated poses and you don't have to put the light quite as high. That also works as a modification. Perfect. But you notice also, we talked about the bald head. It's not actually that bad when you do this. So as I took the light over to the side, we're minimizing a lot of that shine at the top, and most of the light is coming from this. And as it's not being pointed directly at him, it's still soft. Let me show you what happens if we point this light directly at him. Good, and just bring it in a little closer, Justin. Yeah, perfect. We're going to get that hot spot on the top of Anton's head. Now, Anton isn't wearing makeup. I didn't need to shine him. I didn't need to powder him because I know we're going to have soft light, so it's not a huge problem. All right, let's bring that back. We'll just run through some poses. Perfect. Good. That's great. And just open up that hand. Yeah, good. Wonderful. Good. And then just bring your chin this way, Anton. Yeah, good. And then this way. Good. And we'll make it nice and friendly there. Great. Good. Simple. So, soft light, clean light, headshots, it's simple. Put your lights on one side. Don't put lights on both sides. It makes everything so flat and boring. But what we've done with this is we make a beautiful soft base layer of light, and then we add that directional light into it with the second light. None of the lights are pointing at the subject. They're pointing at the V-flats next to the subject. The V-flats are quite close in, which means that we're going to get that soft bounce back. So don't worry about what modifiers you have. If you're trying this setup, get the biggest light you can. If it's a softbox, if it's an umbrella, it doesn't matter. Put it above or on the side like I showed you. I like to use a small octabox for men and a larger one for when I'm shooting women, because the larger one is going to give you a softer light. But the main thing is, no matter what you're using, if you're using a softbox, if you're using a small beauty dish, just don't point it directly at your subject. Point it at the V-flats on the other side. That's what's giving you that soft light quality. The modifiers don't matter so much as long as you get moderately soft light coming out of them. So if your modifier is too hard, put a bed sheet over it. Put a shower curtain over it. Make it soft. There's so many ways to do that. The main quality of light we're getting is by bouncing it on the other side on those V-flats. So I've made a little selection of my favorite images of Anton from our headshots, or I sometimes use this as formal portraits as well, setting, and I'm going to walk you through. So what I did in this shoot, if you look at all these files, I already kind of matched the look and feel. Let me select them all so that they all have the same color. What I did right off the bat, so it's very important that when you look through your shoot, they're already as close to being good as you can get them. So I make adjustments to the entire shoot as soon as I get there. as soon as I get them into Capture One. In this one, I reset, hang on, the color work I did is I added a little bit of blue to the shadows. I'm going to show you how that looks. It's very subtle, and you get a little bit of a color feeling on his suit. And I added a little bit of exposure. Actually, we were quite good on the exposure on this one. And that's about everything I did to this shoot. And then I copied by using Command-Control-C, Command-Shift-C, and then Command-Shift-V to the whole shoot. And it's obviously going to copy in the crop I did as well. I'm going to have a quick look through. One of the things I want to point out, as we were showing in the video, he's got, for someone like him, he has no hair, and you'd usually get such a highlight on his head. This is a highlight, but it's not a hot spot, so that's what I'm looking for. For a corporate shoot, we've still got definition in the face here. There's a shadow on this side, there's a shadow here. It looks natural, but we're not getting those hard shadows or hard contrast. So this is really flattering light for most people. And I actually really like this image, so I'm going to give ahead and give it 4 stars. And this is my 2 stars and up selection. I'm just going to go through, and I've got the standing one from the first image, and I think I really like this. I'm not so keen on the mouth open here. I'm going to select that. Okay, let's have a quick look. So I want variety, and I think the sitting pose and the standing pose we had was very good. And here, this is when we put that black reflector or the black V-flats on the other side, and I think it's a little hard. That shadow's a little bit too hard for me. It looks very fashiony, but for a headshot or a formal portrait, I would leave it more like that shot that I liked here over here. Let me see which one I chose. This one. So let me see my 4-star selects. Good. These are good. Oh, okay. And I made one here already. So as you see, I went through the shoot, and very quickly my favorites came about kind of very organically. I was just going through and making my selections very quickly through the shoot. So again, we don't have much of a kind of adjustments going on in the color or in the white balance. We're taking it pretty much out of camera. We've got a little bit of a exposure compensation for this image, less for this one. We're only at 0.19. A little bit of contrast, and I also, for men, I use a little bit of clarity. I go up to 20, and it's kind of a sharpening filter. I think it looks quite nice on men. I do a little bit less for women, and that's pretty much all we're going to do on this shoot. But you can see both of the setups. This one, that's where the Photek's on the side, and this one, the Photek was on the top. They both work really well to give you that soft light that is wrapped around from both sides, and it's a really effective way to shoot more formal portraits. If I wanted to, I could go moodier on this by just taking down the exposure, and it turns into a completely different image. And you can see if I took this into Photoshop and did a little dodge and burn on this, we could get a completely different feel. But because we're going to that commercial formal place, I'm going to do lighting like this. So I want you guys to try this and see where you get. And if you have a small studio, you're lucky. You don't need to put the V-flats on the left. You can just reflect off your walls.